Hi, this is Mrs. Coopersmith, and today we'll be talking about how Hitler lured Germany into World War II. After World War I, Germany owed many war reparations to other countries, and yet Hitler was described as having come up with an economic miracle, which not only caused the economy to turn around, but also led the Germans into believing that they were the people who should basically be ruling the world, and led to the beginning of World War II. So here we go. So, as you can see from this, after World War I, Germany was in dire straits. Their manufacturing was at half the levels of what they had been at 1929. There was massive unemployment, rising crime rates, and Germany owed money. Yet between 1933 and 1936, unemployment plummeted. Manufacturing was at record levels, and investors were glad to invest in Germany's economy. Prices were stable, wages were rising, crime declining, insurance, education, vocational training, welfare, vacation, sports, and health care were all provided by the government. Bonuses corresponded to what bosses received for employees, taxes were progressive, and people made payments even towards new cars. New technologies such as radio ownership and usage soared. Everyone hailed Hitler for this miracle economy. As you can see from these posters, Hitler was hailed as someone who could bring back the economy, and he was described as someone who would help the workers, and he did this through National Socialism. He came up with a 4-year plan that would eventually lead to war, although the people did not know that. Government spending on rearmament increased from $3.5 billion to $26 billion during that time. German production of iron and steel tripled, and the German army increased from 100,000 to almost 1 million. And it appeared that rearmament was helping the economy by getting more people working. Part of the National Socialist theory was to build factories, highways, weapons, and basically build their way out of the economic depression. It included banning strikes, not having labor unions, and gave the government authority over business. In addition, people were promised automobiles to work on the Autobahn, in particular the famous Volkswagen Beetle Bug, although it wasn't called that at that time. And quite interestingly, it was engineered by Jewish engineer Joseph Guntz. So this is an example of what the Volkswagen looked like. And here we have some images of the Autobahn and bridges. New factories required rail transportation, and all the state controlled the resources, although industry remained primarily privately owned. And as you can see, many small businesses went bankrupt. The goal for women was primarily to be taking care of the home and the children. Part of the way Hitler justified his economic policies included the fact that other countries' markets could not exist without the German market. And these policies promoted a scheme of strength through joy. The German people seemed much more content and confident, and some still did believe that they were far better off than they had been. However, there was a cost for all of this that included belief in that Jews, as having too much power and control, were confined or had their businesses taken away, and this was done primarily through a lot of propaganda, which you can see examples of here. just coincided with the fact that the Olympics were held in Germany, and this again gave Hitler the fantastic propaganda opportunity to exclaim how superior the German race was. You can see this also as the German Republic hailed Hitler once again. However, for those opposed to Nazi socialism, by this point it was almost too late. Children had already been put into kindergarten schools, or if they were Jewish or undesirable, they were taken out of schools altogether. And basically Hitler's attitude was, your child belongs to us already. They had been indoctrinated through their free time, through their schooling, and through youth clubs. And as you can see, this indoctrination started from the age of 3 through teenhood, where boys were going to be considered primarily ready for military life, while girls, again, would be primarily staying at home. So here we have an example of a textbook that was used by the Nazis during education, and basically Hitler's attitude was, let me control the textbooks and I will control the state. Girls were taught to be ideal citizens and mothers and wives and make sure that their children were raised the same, while boys were to concentrate on military subjects and physical education and becoming heroes. Once again, however, there was a price to be paid. Forced castration was given to people who were considered less desirable to decrease their proclivity in the population. Forced euthanasia was used as well. And basically these people either disappeared or if they were elderly, might be sent away to camps, never to be seen again. Again, if you did not go along with the program, you would be considered asocial, outsider, and that would include you also if you were Jewish, gypsies. Those radios that we mentioned earlier were used as a superior method of controlling all messages given to people, and the same was done through newspapers. The Gestapo could arrest people merely on suspicion, and there were Gestapo officers on every block. They would use whatever methods they chose to extract confessions, and people again were sent away to concentration camps if they did not agree. In addition, book burning took place for information that was considered unsightly for Jews to be aware of. And yet almost every newspaper declared that the Jews are our misfortune. Some huge method of propaganda was used to get people to think, believe, hear, and be educated every moment, whether it be casually or through sports and games, that the Nazi method was the best way to go. After Hitler's methods weren't working enough in terms of terrorizing Jews and disbelievers, they decided that they would need to start taking over new lands. And the primary area that they wanted to access first was the Sudetenland, which is part of Poland. Basically, Hitler advertised that Poles had attacked his German soldiers, even though in fact it was the other way around. And this propaganda was used by Germany against Poland as a way to take occupation. So once again, now the German population felt fully entitled to prepare for war and go to war. Throughout the war, his economic propaganda continued, claiming that the average British soldier earned far less than the average German soldier did. And as a part of Hitler's land grab, of course, that was meant to include Russia eventually as well. So here you can see examples of the German military armament. And in these pictures we have examples of the factories where armament were being built. And basically in this summary, we can see here how Hitler's economic miracle was in fact just a mirage. Women were not included in the employment statistics, which led half the adults statistically uncounted. Jews lost their employment, non-followers, disabled, old, frail, mentally disturbed just disappeared to camps. Unemployed were given the choice of either joining armies, a government job that they may or may not want, or again sent to concentration camps. The guns before butter policy eventually led to widespread shortages of food. Gestapo created fear with turning in your neighbors. Public works projects increased, but so did the debt for things such as the railways, the Autobahn, the factories, and the housing. 60 to 72-hour work week became standard. All media and education were controlled by the Nazis. Wages, profits, and prices were also controlled by law. Strikes were not allowed. Corporate taxes were raised as well as personal taxes. Naturally, they had no intention of repaying World War I debts, and ultimately they defaulted on investors, including the German people themselves, who had paid for but never received things such as the Volkswagen cars. Germany also had very few natural resources to maintain their standards, which also led to their need to take over other nations. So ultimately, this theology betrayed not only the world, but the Germans and Germany itself. Thank you.